Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the beginner's guide to journaling for growth. Now, many of you guys have been asking me for months, can you make a video on journaling? Can you tell me how to journal? Can you show me where to start with journaling? And I wanted to for a while, but I knew that I couldn't have it as structured as I would want to say it. I needed a visual representation. And so I found that. And if you like this video or this type of style of video, let me know in the comments and I'll make future videos just like this one. So again, now that you have a journal, you're going to need a journal in front of you. If you don't have a journal, you're not in the game. If you don't have a journal, you're not in the game. If you don't have a journal, you're not in the game. If you do not have a journal, you're not in the game. So now that you have a journal, let's go ahead and start the process of you using that journal. So the very first thing that I want you to do in your journal is something I call brain dumping. What is brain dumping? Brain dumping is an exercise you use to free up space in your mind, because your brain is a powerful processing machine. I say this all of the time. So the more room it has to process information, the better. So let's take a step back. Understand that your brain is a processing machine. It is a processing machine. It is a projection machine. But understand this, every single day, your brain is working on the clock. It does not shut off at all. It'll stop consuming a certain amount of energy, but it never fully hits zero. And it's in charge of basic autonomy of so many things. So the last thing that you want to do is fill it up with nonsense and garbage when it could be using that projection power, that processing power to give you exactly what it is that you are asking for. So again, how do we do this? So I want you to imagine that you went into your room and a tornado flew through it, as my mother used to say. When your tornado flows through your room, your clothes are all over the place, your hangers are all over the place, the bed's all over the place, the sheets are all over the place, there's garbage and trash everywhere, hangers are off the windows, blinds are out the window, it's a complete mess. Majority of people's minds every day, they live in this complete mess. And so what brain dumping does is brain dumping puts everything out on the floor so you can start understanding and separating the things that you care about versus what doesn't matter and needs to be resolved energetically. So what do I mean by that? Let me explain. So let's start the first process by brain dumping and starting to separate things. So we go into this messy, cluttered filled room and we're going to separate our clothes, put that in a pile. Separate our hangers, put that in a pile. Separate the bed supplies, put that in a pile. Take all the garbage and the trash, put that in a pile. And the hangers and the blinds and the drapes or whatever, put that in a pile. See, now what we've done, we haven't completely cleaned up the room, but we have separated things that we care about versus things that we don't care about. We care about our clothes, we care about our hangers, we care about our bed stuff, but we don't care about all this garbage, this trash. And so what we're doing is we're going to take all that trash and essentially throw it away. This is what I mean when I say it needs to be resolved energetically. Because when you walk into your room, and again, everybody, for the most part, if you don't have a journal, everybody's mind is so cluttered with everything that they think about and they watch and they hear and they talk about. It's all filled up. So a lot of guys are like, I feel lost, I feel jumbled, I can't stop my thoughts, because there is no organization. So again, now that we take all that trash, we're throwing it away. When you remove all of the garbage, the trash, the smelly food place out of your room, do you think energetically you're going to be in a better place or a worse place? A better place. And so that's exactly what we're doing. So you have to ask yourself, while you're brain dumping, what is in my mind that I can consider as garbage? Now, again, you're the only person who can answer that, but I know for a fact that a lot of guys out there, they follow things like meme pages, or they follow pages that it's just random clips of nonsense. None of these things are going to help you develop and grow yourself into building whatever it is that you're trying to build. And so essentially, I would call that trash. And the best way that you're going to get rid of the trash is you have to stop paying attention to it energetically. That means unfollowing these meme pages. That means if it ever pops up on your timeline, you don't give it any time, attention, and energy. You have to slowly take all of that energy back away from that nonsense so your brain could use it to process and project whatever it is that you are asking for. So again, once we understand these things, now we get to start understanding what it is about information. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into information here. So again, when you're starting to write it in your journal, the best thing that you're going to do is first off brain dump. You have to get all of that nonsense out of your brain. Next is you have to start a side where it's nothing but information. And there's multiple different types of information, as you could see here. The first one is general information that can be useful. These are just like fun facts. Maybe you watched a video and you learned something new, right? Like for me personally, I know that there's something called a pink lake. I don't know if that's in China or in Michigan or somewhere in Australia. I don't know where it's at, but I do know that a pink lake exists where the water's just pink. That's just general information. I could use that as a fun fact. I could use that as a small talk, right? But that doesn't really help me do anything in my life. But it's still good information that I could potentially use in the future. So when I talk about information, you have to understand there's general information and then the real information, which is information that will help you accomplish your goals in the long term. When I was in my early 20s, early to mid 20s, all I was doing was collecting general information because I didn't know anything. And so when I was collecting this general information, what I learned was I was like, okay, I can piece this together. I can piece this together. These are the secrets of the universe. This is what this religion follows. This is what this religion, like it was all basic information, or not basic information. It was all information, but it wasn't helping me complete my short-term and my long-term goals. Now that I'm more focused and I'm more determined, the only type of information I want to put in my brain is information that can help accomplish my goals in the short term or the long term. So that's very specific information. And so what this information is going to teach you is it's going to teach you things like structures and formulas. These are extremely important because when you learn structures and formulas, this is what's going to ultimately change your life. Now, a lot of you guys say, I don't know structures, I don't know formulas. That's amazing. Again, you can either study this thing on your own, but smart people who use their resources to further their lives, they just consult with experts, and those experts are going to give you the rundown. I was on a call with a guy who is joining the group that we're hosting. And what he did, he told me he consulted with a nutritionist. I want to say it was a nutritionist or a dietitian, one of those two. And the way after the third session, she taught him so much that whenever he goes into the grocery store and he turns the label around, he's able to read things in a new way that he never thought before. And it's amazing because like what he learned in roughly 3 hours, if you research that on your own, it would take you at least 3 to 6 months of continuous efforts to learn that. And so again, smart people just cut that time by 80, 90, 95% by just consulting and asking questions with people who already know the answers. So again, so that's what a side of your journal should be about, is strictly information. So first things first, we have a part of our journal that is focused on brain dumping. Next is a part of just general information. And then there's more. Now you guys see why I have like 7, 8 journals already, because it's just filled with information, filled with brain dumping. Now, when I get a journal, or at least through my progression of journals, it started off with a notepad. Then it went to a actual like flip journal. Then it went to one of these 5 stars. A 5-star, for people who don't know, 5-star journals, they're just separated. So they'll have maybe like 50 to 80 pages, and then they'll have a divider. And then another 50 to 80 pages, a divider. And that would help me because now, instead of just being mixed up into one journal, I can organize it better. This is for brain dumping. This is for information. This is for systems and formulas. This is for, you get what I'm saying? So, but when you're a beginner, I don't expect you to be able to do that yet, unless that's just a part of your personality. So again, what's next? Once we've got brain dumping down, then we understand that we fill it up with general information. More importantly, information that helps us complete our short-term and long-term goals. Now we move on to the fun part, which is the past, present, and the future. This is extremely important that you are writing this down in your journal. So let's go ahead and start with the past. So you have to start identifying the past version of yourself. This is where I also call reflecting. Reflecting is such a great exercise because ultimately it's going to help you in ways that you had no idea before. So in what ways is that possible? The first one, and deemly I would say is extremely important, is the stuff that you did in your past that was not a good experience. So whether that was childhood trauma or whether that's a guilty conscience because you treated people badly or you done dirt on somebody, right? All of this thing is what I call trapped energy. What is trapped energy? We're going to come back to it and I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. But in order for you to understand it, let's go ahead and jump into the opposite side of the past version of ourselves, which is great experiences, which also doubles as references. And what is that? I call that a power source. Why do I call that a power source? This is where the majority of, I won't even say the majority, this is where all of your confidence is coming from as a man. Because what you're doing is you're going to the past and saying, I have done this before. This has happened to me before. I have proven to myself that I have done this before. And so when you reach back into your past, you can use that as a power source to say, I'm confident in this because I've done this before. This is why I also say reading, studying, all that is cool, but it will never, ever, ever, ever top real life experiences. You understand what I'm saying? A guy watching videos on approaching girls is nothing. I don't care if he watched 1,000 videos. It's nothing compared to a guy who has approached 100 girls. Completely different ball game because it's a power source. When you go out there, you have no experience, you have no references, which means you have no power, versus a guy who went out, approached 100 girls, and let's say not even most of them went well, like only like 5 went well. You only need the 5. You understand what I'm saying? Because you can reach back and be like, yes, I got a pretty woman to smile. Yes, I got a pretty woman to call me attractive. Yes, she's right. They're validators. And that's going to be huge when you're thinking about these things. Now, again, notice how I called it a power source. Well, that power source is great for great experiences and references, but it's also what it is for trapped energy. So you ever had this happen to you where you were thinking, just chilling, maybe you're having a good time or having a conversation, and then your brain automatically goes, hey, remember that time in 6th grade where you fumbled that bag? Hey, remember in high school when you didn't go for that kiss? Hey, remember in college when this thing, what, you ever have that happen? And now you have this cringe feeling or these bad feelings or these negative feelings. This is what this is. It's unreleased trauma, a guilty conscience. And so your brain is going to feed you that energy because that energy is still trapped there. So MD, how do I get rid of all of that negative energy? Well, the first thing you have to do is go through the path of acceptance. You have to accept that it happened and that there's nothing you can do about it. That's the first one. The second thing you have to do is you have to forgive yourself. This is huge. Not only do you have to forgive yourself for messing up, but you also have to forgive the person who may have done you dirt, simply because it's not for them, but it's simply because you need to stop giving that negativity energy. That's how you do it. Understand something. When you get those feelings are energy. It's emotion. And so what happens is when your brain brings this up, most guys react because they're trying to run from it. Cringe. Don't think about it. Right? What you're doing is you're feeding it emotion. You're feeding it energy. And so what you could do to get rid of it is you have to stop feeding it energy. Something that relies on energy, when you stop feeding it energy, it's going to die. It's going to cease to exist. And so whenever we go through the process of doing this, what you have to end up doing is you have to, whenever it pops up into your mind, you don't give it any attention. In fact, you give it the opposite. So if it's like, hey, remember when you fumbled that bag? And it's like, yeah, I do remember when I fumbled that bag. I forgive you for fumbling that bag. I forgive myself. And listen, you know what? What else could I have done to make sure that I don't fumble the bag? Well, next time, instead of being weird and asking her a bunch of dumb questions that she didn't care about, let me try to gauge more questions about her interests and what she's thinking about. Notice how I'm taking that negative energy, not giving it any reaction, and instead replacing it with a potential positive experience. A potential positive experience. And now that I have this potential positive experience, again, that negative cringe, negative emotion, it's no longer there, or at least it's weaker than it was before. And I'm replacing it with a different type of energy. Now, this is something you probably have to do at least more than once, right? But again, it's just about progress. 1% better every day over time is going to get you the results that you want. So that's the past. Whenever you're reflecting, and again, this should be in your journal. And let's say you're writing things down and you're crazy embarrassed about it, right? That's fine. And if you're not as protective of your journal as you know you should do, what I would do is I would write all this stuff down and then I would tear it out and then crumble it up, dip it in water. The water is the most important part, and then throw it away, right? But again, you're going to want to have this concrete in your journal somewhere. But if you're not protective of your journal, like my journal goes everywhere with me. So if you're not protective of your journal like that and you don't want people to stumble upon it, then that's a good way to get rid of it. But you have to be able to see these things written down. That way it can give you more of a power boost. Okay, so that was the present. Now we get into the fun part. The reason why we start with that was the past. The reason why we start with the past is because a lot of guys are trying to build things up when you're giving too much energy away from the past. You need to be drawing energy from the past. Does that make sense? Okay, so now we move on to the present. The present is great. I love the present. Because the present version of yourself, you have to tell yourself the truth of who you are. A lot of guys do not do this. And in fact, a lot of my more popular videos, when I'm yelling and I'm hyped up and I'm passionate, I'm trying to tell you about yourself because you refuse to have that conversation with yourself. Does that make sense? So the best way that you can do this, and again, this is a very low level version of this. I'm giving you the basics. So what you do is you describe yourself the truth of what you got going on. So right now you may work in a warehouse, you have no girlfriend, you're ambitious, right? But you have mediocre hygiene, you're chubby, poor diet. Now again, this isn't just to rag on you and say that you have all these negative things, but these are the things that you should write down things that you need to face, but also write down some of the good qualities that you have that you also want to work on and build. But again, write down the present moment about yourself. One of the things that I notice when you guys hop on calls with me is I ask you, I say, tell me about your present situation. And a lot of guys end up telling me about their past, right? And I get it. I understand why you're doing it. But again, I'm not here to talk about your past. That's for you to reflect on and understand the great experiences that you had so you can use it as a power source and release all of the negativity and not feed the negativity energy. I don't care about your past. I care about the present, right? What's going on right now? I work in a warehouse. I have no girlfriend. I'm ambitious. I have mediocre hygiene. I'm chubby, poor diet. Because once we understand who we are in the present, that leads us to help us create who we want to be in the future. The future you that you want to actualize. And so when we go down here, now we're like, okay, I can say, describe the goal that you have for yourself. Well, guess what? Let me see if I can zoom out here. I hope you guys can see that. So listen, again, the goal right here is right now down here, the truth of who we are. We say we work in a warehouse. Well, if we follow this, the what we want for ourselves is we want to work on our own business. You see what I'm saying? And then again, down here, no girlfriend. Well, the present you wants no girlfriend, but if we talked about the future you want a serious girlfriend, right? And then we come down here, ambitious. And then boom, we didn't write anything for ambitious because we want to help that out. instead of mediocre hygiene, we want to have great hygiene. Instead of being chubby, we want to be in shape. Instead of a poor diet, we want to be a healthy diet. So now we're starting to understand where we are and where we want. And don't fall for the trap of the negative energy that comes from your past. What do I mean by that? So if I say right now you have no girlfriend and then I ask you, hey, would you want a serious girlfriend? Most guys, they're like, oh no, bro, I'm red pill. Your girls don't last. They only like you for the what you can provide, and you know, all those talking points. All you're doing right now is telling me about the unreleased trauma that you have that's trapped in the energy, that's trapped energy. You're pulling from a negative power source. Why would you taint your future with negativity instead of hoping for the best and creating a plan that's going to help you get the best or increase the probability of you getting the best? Does that make sense? So whenever you're talking about the past and whenever you're talking about the present and you're talking about the future, save all of that negative garbage for somebody who cares, right? Because the future version of you who's living in this life, he doesn't care because his life is awesome, okay? So be very careful about that. So again, once you have the present version of yourself and you have the future version of yourself, that's going to lead you to one of the most important parts of having a journal, which is an action plan. Because again, when you understand that you want to have your own business, you want to be in shape, you want to have a serious girlfriend, you great hygiene, you want to be in shape, and you want a healthy diet. Now, what I'm going to do is ask you, what are the actions that can help you complete each one? So if we're talking about let's go about being in shape. If I asked you, what does it take to be in shape? I'm sure that you can tell me diet, exercise, working out, right? Or mobility, whatever. And then I say, okay, well, let's go ahead and get information. Notice how this is all connected. Let's get information that's going to help us accomplish our goals with structures and formulas, and we're going to consult with experts, okay? And then boom, once we've done that, now we have an action plan because we have a list of actions that we need to do in order to get the results that we need. And that's going to come a list of actions that will help you go from your present self to your future self over time, right? Same difference. And again, once you have that list, now we get to organize it because that's going to end up being your routine and your list of priorities. Everybody has their own life going on, but whenever you understand that you become a priority in your life, you're going to make sure that, yes, I'm going to give my job some time. Yes, I'm going to give other people some time. Yes, I'm going to give this and that some time. But I need to make sure that I prioritize myself first, that I'm making sure that the majority of my energy is going towards becoming the best version of myself first, because that's ultimately what I want. I don't want to be stuck in this dead-end job my whole life. Okay, if that's true, then you have to start taking some of the energy away and applying it to exactly where it is that you want to go. And again, you have a list of actions for that. You have the information that you need to do that. This is what your journal should be filled with. And again, you can fill your journal up with anything, but this is just a structured plan of what you could be doing. That way you can organize everything. So you immediately know, boom, when I open my journal, I know I can start with brain dumping. I know I can start with the information that I know that I could start with action plan, or I know that I could talk about or review my past, present, and my future self. Does that make sense? So this one, if you just do this, it's going to ultimately change your life. If you want a copy of this, I'm going to have a link down below to where you can copy it and print it out if you want to, so it can serve as a reminder. Let me know if you guys like this type of content. I think I'm starting to like it because I'm realizing that this is the masculine. Everything is structured, everything is organized, and it tells you exactly what to do once you've reached a certain point. So I think I like this. I think I'm going to start including this into my content. Let me know what you guys think. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. If you made it this far, type in more masculine. And with that, I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace out.